out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Throughout today's class, all you'll be needing is your natural breath. You won't have any need for diaphragmatic breathing. You won't have any need to do ujjayi breath. This first part of every yoga class is a meditation. And use your breath as a tool to occupy your mind, to become an observer from outside of your body, just looking in and observing, without trying to intervene, without trying to improve your breath, modify it, or make it better in any way. This breath of yours has kept you healthy all these years. By watching your breath, you learn more about your body. And you allow your brain to stop its domination over your body. And once you separate the two, your body can do what it can do best, and your brain can rest. On your next inhale, open up your eyes to get right into your hips. We're going to do half saddle on the right side. So this is where I use a folded up towel. You can sit on a block, that's fine. But to get into saddle, what you want to do, one way to get there is to just get onto your knees and then sit back onto your heels. And this is perfectly acceptable. Now, to get a little bit more out of this, well, first we'll make this half saddle. And with that half saddle, you can either bring that leg out in front. And something I was playing with in the last couple of days was maybe if you've had a hard time doing half saddle in the past, maybe just bend that left knee out. Bring your footprint onto the inside of your thigh, out near the knee. Let's see if you can get your right heel outside your hip. So on this side, it would look like this. And the farther out you can go, the more you will rotate that right femur in your hip socket. Internal rotations are challenging for all of us. I need a little height, so I have my folded up towel. From here, bring your hands back behind your hips. Lift your chest high, and then to tilt your sacrum, tuck your tailbone under. That tilts your pelvis, and your sacrum goes with it. Your sacrum is your 5 vertebrae that have fused together when you were in your 20s. And looking at a skeleton, and I'm going to bring Scully next week. So I'll have a skeleton here that you can all look at. But that sacrum is a triangular shape that hangs in between the wings of your pelvis. Now this might be good for you, and this might be a real challenge. Maybe you can come down onto your elbows. But if you can't, that's okay. Don't push it too hard. You're getting a huge stretch of your quads. And if you have that left knee bent and out to the side, that's fine. You may find bending that knee is a little bit easier if you're leaning back. But the target here is your right hip socket and your quads. Now your gaze can be up, can be at the horizon. If your neck hurts, make sure that you're looking where it doesn't hurt. There is nothing to be gained by increasing your pain. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, rise back up. And the next pose is going to be a counter. It's going to be fairly slow. So just lean over onto your left hip. Let that right leg come back to the front. Both legs together. Push your heels away. Enjoy that hamstring stretching. Maybe rotate your feet. That will twist your femur in your hip socket. And then bring that right foot up. Well, bring both feet out into a spread. I'll give you a choice here. We're going to do half dragonfly. Full dragonfly is both legs out. And don't go maximum width. Go about 70%, which means if you're absolute maximum like this, maybe bring your feet in 4 inches so that it becomes a little more tolerable. You may, if you wish, bend that left knee, lift your chest high, and turn your chest, your sternum towards your right foot. Inhale tall. And exhale, walk your hands alongside your right leg down towards your foot. Now you may not get very far, which is okay. You can bring your hands up on top of your shin. That's okay, but don't pull. And if you really have an urge that's overwhelming to pull, just turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Breathe into wherever you feel this. You're giving an alternative pose to that saddle. You're also stretching your lower back on the right side. And if your eyes are closed, as I reassured everybody last night in the other class, if your eyes are closed, nobody can see you. So bring your right hand up to that lower back where you're feeling this pull, this tension. And merely by touching, you'll help that muscle soften. Those are your quadratus lumbar muscles, which are the equivalent to your obliques on the front side. And on your next inhale, come back up. As I said, that was pretty quick. Come back on to your left hip one more time. This time, swing that right leg back behind you and come up into table. And do a few cat-cows here. And notice which parts of your hips you feel. And the next time you come to center, pause. On an inhale, take your left arm out to the side and then lift it up towards the ceiling and then twist. And then on an exhale, thread your left hand behind your right wrist, way out to the right side, well beyond the edge of your mat, as your shoulder and cheek come down to the mat. And to thread the needle. Now from here, you can keep your right hand next to your face. You can keep your knees down. This is a twist. Your shoulders are at a different angle from your hips. But you can modify this. If you'd like, you can always stretch that right leg all the way back. Come up onto your toes, push your heel away. Reduces the twist a little bit, but that right leg, after doing Dragonfly and saddle, may really want that. Now, if you want to open up that right shoulder, maybe crab walk your fingers forward so that your right hand is coming way forward towards the wall in front of you. That your fingers are all the way down on the mat, hollowing out your armpits. So you have maximum extension of your arm in your shoulder socket. And soften your belly here. Begin to deepen your breath. Return your right hand next to your face. Lower that right knee. And then on an inhale, push the floor away. Extract your left arm out and up. Come back to table. And do a few more cat-cows. Notice the difference between your shoulders. Notice your hips. You can curl your toes under, go up into down dog if you wish. And then gently return your knees back down. Come down onto your favorite hip. Bring your legs around in front, seated. And for this, you will probably need a block, maybe not. We're going to do double swan with the right leg on top. Now, double swan, the way you get into it, the left leg starts roughly parallel to the front of your mat, resting on the mat. Then you bring your right leg roughly over the top. And then maybe you can bring your knees closer together or your feet farther apart, doesn't matter how you want to think about it. You may need a block underneath either knee to level up your legs. And if this is just too much, believe me, I've been there. So what I would recommend is straightening out that left leg and using your block underneath the right knee that is over well, your right ankle is on top of your left thigh, like a gentleman sitting. And then use that block, the other block, just to support that knee. So however it works for you. Now the target of this pose are both your glutes, your right and your left glutes. And I'll offer a position here that will allow you to detect each part of each glute. So raise your spine tall again. And then begin to walk your hands forward onto the mat, but slowly. You may find a point that, there's a little bit too much stress and it kind of hurts, so pause there. Be kind. Be compassionate with your own body. But when you're able, you can go a little bit farther or not. But see what you feel and where you feel it. Again, the targets that you should be feeling this in are both your glutes and both your hip sockets. Now, probably your left leg and left hip socket, you have less to feel, but some of you, that might be more. You may want to just bend your elbows at a point. Just rest the backs of your hands on a block or on the mat. And just let the weight of your chest be pulled down by gravity. Maybe your head can come all the way down on top of the block. Maybe not. You can always reach back and feel your glutes. And frankly, on this pose, I cannot determine which glute is feeling the most sensation. Your gluteus maximus, that's the glute that's closer to the center of your spine. Your medius comes way out over towards the outside of your hip. But if you just run your hand there, your glute will know that you can relax and just let gravity take over. You're not expecting your glutes to protect you. That way, the tension from the pose can be transferred into the fascia that covers your glutes, stimulating them so they can gather more stem cells to create more space in your body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly bring your hands back down to the mat. Walk your hands back, lifting up your chest. Carefully remove your blocks. And then maybe use both hands to help that right leg come back down to the mat. And help your legs come out to the front. Bring your hands behind your hips. Carefully push your heels away. Maybe spread your toes. Wave your feet both directions. And then bring your footprints to the mat. And carefully observe how your hips feel as you windshield wiper. Now your hip flexors were not directly stressed in this pose. Your glutes certainly were. The next time you come to center, pause. Here, come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling, and then lower them onto the mat beyond your head. Stretching your heels away from your palms. Stretching your toes away from your fingers. And then just relax. This next pose is left banana. So for the birds flying overhead with X-ray vision, switch your head and shoulders over towards the left side of your mat, keeping your hips right where they are. You want to keep your sacrum and your sit bones on the mat. And once you have a nice bit of a bend, now keeping your hips and sit bones where they are, walk your feet over towards the left side of the mat. And then pause there. You should be feeling a lot of stretch in your right body, all the way from your right wrist, all the way down to your right ankle. I always seem to have organs that want to punch up underneath my rib cage. So I have to use diaphragmatic breath to push them down below my ribs, to free them up. And then when I exhale, they become more amenable to the pose. Soften your lower belly. You can grab your right wrist with your left hand and then push that right hand away. Don't try to pull it to the side. You're trying to lengthen. And just do this slight crescent shape of your body is enough to induce the stretch. This is giving your right side of your body more space. Your intercostal muscles, those muscles that hold your ribs together, are being stretched. Your discs, at least half of each, are being stretched. Allowing more fluid into that side as the left side starts to be compressed a little bit. If you'd like to intensify this, maybe lift your right foot up an inch or two, place the right ankle over the top of the left, and just let it back down, both legs being straight. And check your right hip to make sure that it's still in contact with your mat. If it becomes too challenging, back up. You're trying to relax those parts that are being stretched. And if you're at a point where your muscles are just in agony, just refusing to soften, yield to them. Show some empathy for what they're feeling. Maybe you can crawl inside your body and observe what they're going through. Maybe they don't have enough blood. Maybe they don't have enough oxygen. So breathe into those areas. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, uncross your legs, walk your feet back to center. Carefully scoot your shoulders and head back to center. And then using your hands together, helping each other, bring your arms to the front side of your body. When it's right for you, draw one knee up into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Stretch that other heel away. And then add the other leg. Rock from left to right, massaging your spine. And then come all the way over onto your right side. Use your left hand, push the floor away, and rise up to a seated position. To help straighten out your body, we're going to do caterpillar. It's just a simple forward pull, but it works really well with the saddle pose that you did because your sacrum gets to tilt forward rather than just backward. So bring your heels out long in front. Now you can sit on a block like me. You don't have to. If your knees can't bend enough, you can always use a towel underneath your knees or a block. That will allow your back to relax a little bit more. Lift your spine tall, and then walk your hands on the outsides of your legs, drawing your collarbones towards your toes, the crown of your head towards the far wall, and your gaze through your eyelids is straight down into the mat or into your knees. And when you come forward enough and your body asks you to pause, pause. This pose targets your spine and your hamstrings. If your heels are still pushing away, it's also targeting your calves and your Achilles. But it doesn't have to. If you'd like to modify, do something a little bit different, maybe just let your toes, your feet fall wherever they want and see what happens. See where you feel this. And know that all is good. You're learning more about your body, learning more about how to soften your body, which to lengthen your fascia is a crucial piece of learning. Now, if you think you've gone as far as you can, again, use your hands just to touch your hamstrings, just to see if that helps a little bit. You may be able to forward fold an extra 1/8 of an inch, maybe a 1/16. That's okay. Make the modifications that your body wants you to make. Knowing that the goal is relaxation of your muscles. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to walk your hands back towards your hips. Sit up straight. Slip off of your block. Bring your hands behind your hips. Bend your knees. Maybe modify where your footprints are. And then windshield wiper your knees from one side to the other. But again, observe. Try to figure out why your body feels this way at this time. The next time you come to center, pause. Stretch your heels out towards the front of the mat. Come down onto your elbows, all the way onto your back. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling again, then onto the floor beyond your head and stretch. Push your heels away. And your toes and your fingers. And then just sink into your mat. This time it's banana right-handed. So start by making sure that your hips, your sacrum, your sit bones don't move, and scoot your head and shoulders over to the right. Now, if you'd rather put your feet first, go right ahead. That's the way I was taught, but it just doesn't work for me. Once you have half of your body in a nice side bend, walk your feet over towards the side of your mat, and know that this is going to get more intense just by staying in the pose. So don't overdo it. You can always intensify it later. You can grab onto that left wrist with your right hand and push that left hand, left wrist towards that far wall. Soften your belly. If you'd like to modify this, intensify, lift that left leg up an inch or two, put it over the top of the right, and lower it back down. And just like gravity, hold it in place. Soften your arms. Maybe breathe into that left armpit. And then use successive breaths to breathe down the outside of your the left body from top to bottom. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, lift your left leg, uncross your legs, walk your feet back to center. Feel how your hips respond. And then scooch your head and shoulders to the center of your mat. And use both hands to help each other return to the front. Notice if any body parts are more stressed than you think they probably should have been. When you're ready, bend one knee of your choice, bring it up into your chest and squeeze. Add the other. And squeeze. Rock left to right. Maybe make some circles with your knees on the ceiling. And make sure you go the opposite direction too. And the next time you come to center, pause. The next pose will start in a seated position, so maybe just cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards. Or you can come over on your side and push yourself up. Make sure you have a block or two handy because we're back at double swan. So again, we'll start with the right knee down, the right ankle roughly parallel to the front of the mat. And then your left ankle will be on top. Now, your feet might be right on top of one another. That's fine. This is a perfectly good double swan. And as you get more flexible, you can go farther and farther. Or not. You also have the option of making this into a reclining swan. Remember, you can bring your right leg out in front if that works more for you. But inhale your spine tall. And then close your eyes. Go inside each hip right now. Notice how they feel. From the hip sockets and your glutes, your two targets. And then very slowly walk your hands forward. When you feel your muscles begin to change, which ones are being engaged, pause there. Experience that. We rarely take the time to see and feel all the little micro movements and how much they change your body. And if you come to a real tough point, pause. Breathe into that sensation and wait for that sensation to subside. You may even need to take a deep cleansing breath, which will lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate. Make your nervous system a little bit more pliable. When you come to the point where you think it's right to pause, pause there. Allow your head to fall forward. Maybe you can move your head a little bit left to right, up and down, to make sure that you don't have stress in your cervical spine. You do not want to have a sore neck. Try to relax your sit bones. Soften your knees. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your feet back up. Walk your feet back up. How about your hands? Upside down, right? Come all the way up into seated. Maybe with two hands, help your feet come forward. Push your heels away. Wave your feet. And you're in the perfect position. But this is probably not going to be the perfect pose. We have half saddle on the other side. So you can put a towel underneath your hips, roll onto your right hip, and bend your left knee. Then put your foot and your toenails down on the mat. And maybe that left heel can be outside your hip. Now, most people, including me, I can only get a little tiny bit outside my hip. I've seen one person whose leg can come out almost at a 45 degree. That means her femur can rotate 45 degrees in her hip socket. And then I've seen on a video somebody who's almost 90 degrees, and I have to turn it off. But from here, your right leg can be straight, can be bent. Your leg can be bent up like this. Bring your hands behind your hips. Tuck your tailbone under. That will tilt your pelvis. You should be feeling this pretty strong stretch in your quads. You may want to just brush your quads with your hand. See how far up your pelvis they actually attach, all the way up to the top of your left crown there. You can come back onto your elbows if you wish. It's not a requirement. If your knee comes up a little bit, well, that's okay. Or maybe you want to just come back up onto your hands. Again, the object here is to soften your quads so that the fascia of your quads lengthen. I find sometimes when I look straight up, it relieves some of the stress in my quads. Other times, looking at the horizon does. So it's always an adventure as I try to find the best possible outcome. Because it's always different. You don't want to overdo a good thing, so on your next inhale, begin to rise back up. Roll onto your right hip. Let your left leg spring back out. Push your heels away. You need to rock your feet again, left to right. Then we're going to do half dragonfly. So bring your legs out into dragonfly. And again, I like to bend the leg just because it makes it easier for me to fold over the left leg. And the target is the left, so it doesn't really matter about the right. So lift your spine tall. Turn your shoulders towards your foot. And then on your exhale, forward fold towards that left foot. Your collarbones go towards the left foot. And feel the relief in your hip socket here. Your left body. Begin to deepen your breath. Inhale, come all the way back up. Roll back onto that right hip. Bring that left leg behind you and come up into table. And do a couple of cat cows again. And notice your hips. Notice your lower back. And accentuate your cats and your cows. The next time you come to center, pause. On your next inhale, bring your right arm out to the side, and then up. And then on the exhale, thread your right hand behind your left wrist, way off to the left of your mat, coming down onto your your right shoulder and right cheek. Twisting your spine. Notice your core. If you'd like to modify this, you can always straighten out that left leg. Coming up onto your toes. But that's not necessary. Maybe you want to stretch out that left shoulder by walking that hand farther forward, fully extending that left arm, stretching your rotator cuff muscles. And then find softness. Breathe into wherever the muscles are tense and calling out for help. In this position, your lungs are slightly confined, so feel how your breath feels. Notice which parts of your lungs are constricted and which are not. Maybe you can feel different organs being moved around by your breathing. And don't be afraid to make some micro changes to help your body soften, to give your fascia that extra stimulus that it needs for growth. Begin to deepen your breath. In your next inhale, bring your hand back down next to your face and lower that left leg if it's up. And then on an inhale, push the floor away, retrieving your right arm, bring it through, out and up. Return it back down onto the mat. Do a couple more cat-cows. And the next time you come to center pause, come down onto that favorite hip one last time. Swing your feet around towards the front of the mat. And come down onto your back. Draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. Rock from left to right. And then release one leg out to the front corner of your mat. Push your heel away. Release the other knee. Push the other heel away. You can bring your arms any place along your body. It can be out into T. They can be by your side, but leave your palms up. That will relax your triceps and your biceps. Stretch your spine long. Lift your head 1 inch, tuck your chin, and gently lower back down and release. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale it out through your nose. Take another cleansing breath in through your nose. Exhale out through your nose. And take rest. I'll be coming around and adjusting some of you. I won't get to everyone. But if you do not want me to touch you, just wave me away when you hear my footprints. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists, and to your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, bend your knees, walk your feet up towards your sit bones, draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. And rock again, left to right, making circles. And the next time you come over on towards your right side, pause there in fetal pose, using your right arm as a pillow. And do a quick body scan to detect any unresolved tension or stress that may still be lurking in your body so that you can address it later today or later in the week. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away, rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this afternoon. Thank you for taking such good care of your bodies through the practice of yoga. Share your empathy and compassion in the peace that you practice on your mat with your family, your friends, and each person you might meet. Namaste.
Namaste.
My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thanks.